I understand that the title and thumbnail of this video might have some of you a little frustrated, so let me make a few things clear. I am not a patronizing asshole looking to shit on something you love. Despite me being a cartoon avatar, I'm not a commentary channel whose most oppressive experience is not being allowed to say the N-word, and I'm not trying to bait people into clicking this video just for views. What I am is a fan. Like a really, really big fan. Like watch an episode and then spend the next 2 days watching other people react to the exact same episode kind of fan. And with watching people try to enjoy what I try to enjoy, I'd like to draw your attention to the word try. Because trying to enjoy season 5 in its entirety is kind of like trying to enjoy getting stabbed in the balls. Only the knife is laced with hand sanitizer and the person stabbing you has been fucking your wife. A lot of people have been pointing out that the show feels a little off in season 5. But why does it feel so different? Well, I actually have a theory as to why that is. But before I can explain myself, we need to get a feel of what this season has to offer. Episode 1. Mort Dinner Rick Andre. The first episode of season 5 feels like any other episode of Rick and Morty, and I don't mean that in a bad way. We get to see concepts that Rick and Morty have previously displayed when it comes to the passage of time in a new light, where we have seen alternate universes where time flows much slower than usual. We get to see a universe where time flows much faster. We get new interesting characters that flesh out Rick's ever-expanding band of enemies. We get to see development of Morty and the amount of blood he is willing to spill in the pursuit of love, and we even get to see the canon of the show altering with Jessica, Morty's love interest, elevating past a small side character into what the show refers to as a time god. Mort Dinner Rick Andre is a great episode with a lot of hidden issues that we'll get into soon. Episode 2. Mortplicity. This episode plays out as a one-off with a fun concept that devolves into the kind of humor and violence that is expected of Rick and Morty. After the events of season 4's finale, Rick has made decoys of the family to be placeholders for them just in case unknown threats attempt to kill them, with the unforeseen circumstances of Rick's actions being that the decoys get the same idea thinking that they are the original family and have no idea of their creation. This, in my opinion, is one of the best one-off episodes of the entire series as a whole. Yet, despite that, there are some small things that still bother me by the very end, which, you guessed, we will get into later. Episode 3, A Rick Convenient Mort. Episode 3 is where season 5 starts to take a nosedive, and that's not to say that the episode is bad. The episode has a lot of emotional beats, and when watching the episode on its own, it's great, until you realize that every single theme and plot point in this episode has already been explored in a previous episode in the show, and those episodes just do a better job at fleshing out those concepts. Morty falling in love with someone and committing acts of violence to preserve that love? Didn't we just see him do that in the season 5 premiere? Now that I think about it, didn't we see him do that exact same thing in the season 4 premiere as well? In this episode, we also get to see Rick go through similar themes about fleeting love, but during the entire run of the show, we have seen Rick bitch about love, and we've also seen him get heartbroken. Even the connection that he builds with Summer means fuck all, because the writers have already illustrated that Rick trusts Summer to always help him out in times of need. This whole episode is just rehashing story beats from superior episodes and cramming them together. If we hadn't seen those story beats before, then yeah, this episode would have been amazing. The truly defining moment that seems to stand out in this episode is the fact that Morty himself is the one to call off the relationship in the end, developing him past his obsessive need to feel loved. The only issue is that we don't really get enough of Morty and Planet Tina together for the payoff to really matter. If the episode had dropped the B story and had just focused on the romantic development of Morty, then I think this episode would have been a whole lot stronger. But when the whole episode is just a story we have already seen, just told worse, then all of it just doesn't matter. I still watch this episode and enjoy it. The choice of music alone in some of these scenes makes everything feel so emotional and worth it, but after watching the episode a few more times, I've kind of realized that the only emotion I feel now is frustration. Episode 4, Rick Dependent Spray. This episode sucks copious amounts of donkey dick, dude, and I am not even going to make excuses for it. You know how Star Wars Episode 4 is like super fucking good, but if you try to explain the plot to someone who has never seen Star Wars before, it just sounds like complete dog shit? Well, Episode 4 is just like that, only if you explained it, it really is that bad. Don't believe me? Okay. So like Morty's been using a horse jacking off machine to pleasure himself, right? And Rick wants to defeat a race of horse people by mutating horse cum. But plot twist, it's actually Morty's cum, right? And it makes these giant cum monsters, and only Morty knows the cum monsters is his cum, right? So they aid the president in killing the cum monsters, but they get stopped by the cum queen, who uses Morty's cum to make an army. However, in Las Vegas, the president has the idea of using a giant human egg to lure the cum monsters to them so they can kill them. But uh-oh, the giant egg belongs to Morty's sister. Rick and Morty manage to escape because of a friendly sperm, but then they get captured by the horse people that Rick wanted to kill. They're about to eat him when it turns out the Rick fucked a horse, and now it's pregnant, and all the horses just decided that they're good now. They fight the cum queen, but oh no, they accidentally make a giant incest baby, and they launch it into space, and the episode ends with the horse giving birth. The end. Episode 5, a Morty graffiti. This episode is actually not that bad. It explores the exploitative nature of Rick. It develops the toxic dynamic that Beth has with her father and her need to make him like her. And in the B story, we get a small self-contained adventure that actually develops Rick's AI as an actual character, and this continues throughout the season. There isn't much to complain about aside from the weak setup that plays out at the beginning and end of the episode. Rick finds himself in trouble with the demons of hell because he sold them faulty skin hooks, and now they demand repayment. Later in the episode, when they get captured, they only manage to escape because the demons forgot why they were mad at Rick in the first place. That might sound confusing for those that might not remember the episode, but when they are captured, the demons use the faulty skin hooks that Rick sold them. When the show addresses how the fuck that could even happen, the characters just say, "Whoops, I forgot about that."
Nice hooks. Where'd you get them?
Didn't I say replace those goddamn hooks?
I forgot.
Aside from the weak setup for an escape, the episode is pretty fun. Episode 6, Rick and Morty's Thanksploitation Spectacular. I have a lot of issues with this episode, and I feel like I can explain why this episode annoys me so much in a segment coming up, so I'm actually going to skip this one. Episode 7, Gotron Jerry Sis Rick Vangelion. A good Rick and Morty episode tackles a very small handful of concepts and ideas and fleshes them out to the best of its ability. There is an alien race implanting memories in our heads. We have to find out who is and isn't an alien. We are being held in a simulation. We have to find a way out. Here is a device that does X. The show demonstrates what X can do. Now here are the consequences for X. This leads into why I think this episode falls so flat. There are just so many things going on that nothing grabs your attention. Kind of like how too many ingredients can ruin a dish. And don't panic, I'm not going to start using food analogies, okay? That's like the one fucking rule of analogies. You've got Power Rangers, Evangelion, anime, mafia movies. They try to display Rick's addictive nature. Summer's power complex. They even have this battle of the narrators shit going on. And on top of that, they give Summer like an entire minute of exposition and an episode's worth of information being thrown at you just so they can have the giant incest baby from episode 4 come and fight a mech in space. And yeah, the show was proud enough of the Morty and Summer incest baby that they did a callback. I really want to just laugh and enjoy the show, but can you honestly see yourself muttering the words? Haha, look, it's the incest baby. The episode even acknowledges that fans have been shitting on the whole incest baby idea.
I think you guys got a lot of nerve acting better than us. This is the family that made a giant incest baby. Had the government launch it into space. It's still floating around out there somewhere. Are we ever gonna live that down?
But keep in mind that the incest baby and this dialogue where they make fun of it were both written before audience had even seen these episodes. So the writers knew and predicted that people would see this as them going too far. I'm glad the writers are having fun, don't get me wrong, but at the cost of your entire show, that just doesn't seem worth it. Incest baby is canon now, and there is nothing we can do about it. Episodes 8, 9, and 10 are all phenomenal episodes, so I'm going to be throwing them all together. compelling stories that expand on the canon while setting up new stakes for future seasons. They're all fantastic. Now that we have all of that out of the way, here are my 3 problems with season 5 and why they have me really worried for future seasons. Number 1 being continuity. Now, I did consider leaving this one out, but the harder I looked, the more the continuity started fucking around with the stakes of the show, and that is seriously not something you want to do. And the writers definitely know what continuity is. They wrote a whole fucking breakdown of what it is as a bit in the Story Train episode, which leaves me baffled as to why they completely sidelined the story that they set up like it's nothing. In season 3 episode 9, we see Rick and Beth contemplating the idea of cloning her so she can leave her family behind and go live a fulfilling life in outer space. In the season finale of season 3, we watch Beth realize that she might be a clone and that the real Beth had left, and after confronting her father about it, we the audience are left with no sure answer. In the season 4 finale, we find out Beth was cloned, however we are left confused as no one knows which Beth is the original. This results in Space Beth joining the family, Rick getting slammed for his actions and being left miserable in his garage. Jerry talks about now having 2 wives, Morty and Summer celebrate having 2 badass mums, and storm out after telling Rick that he is losing control. From what we have seen here, both Beths despise Rick and he is now the lowest ranking character in the family. I was so sure that this would change the dynamic of the characters heading into the new season, like Morty choosing to adventure with his mum in space instead of Rick, or both Beths having to deal with their existence in the same household. Season 5 opens up with Space Beth nowhere to be found, no one is holding any hard feelings towards Rick, and things play out like a regular episode of Rick and Morty. And while this episode is really good, I can't help but feel confused. How the fuck do you change the playing field so much and then just keep playing the same game? The only time that we see Space Beth in this entire season is in a mini cameo at the end of episode 2, and even then they managed to squeeze in a small bit about how you won't see her very often.
Long road trip adventure through space. Even ran into Space Beth. Maybe that'll happen more often.
Let's not overdo it.
The continuity even gets murky on a smaller scale as well. We meet their neighbor Gene in season 3. He dies in the Cum Monster episode.
Sweetheart, can you give me a minute? I'm trying to steer around the bodies of our neighbors. Oh, that felt like Gene. That's on you, Beth.
But then episodes later, we see him chatting up Rick's AI. And you can theorize that Rick made a clone, or this episode takes place in an alternate universe. But if you have to come up with theories in order to fix the errors in the show, the continuity is busted. The conflicts are gone, characters die and come back, mended relationships are somehow broken again, broken relationships are somehow mended again. The show lets Morty say that he's been doing Rick's bidding for years.
When do I ask you for anything? When do you? I haven't been to a full week of school in years.
And yet hasn't aged, despite the show showing us that characters definitely do age in this world. That last one I can kind of let slide. Almost all animated shows have like 13 Christmas episodes and yet no one grows up. But even if you can look past the smaller details, the fact that the show looks past details in its story so it can have episodic fun is embarrassing and a spit in the face to people who have been hoping to see resolutions to these conflicts. The second issue I have is the repetitive nature of this season. We now have 3 episodes focusing on Morty committing murder in the pursuit of love. Season 4 episode 1, Season 5 episode 1, that's 2 premieres, and then Season 5 episode 3. We get 2 episodes this season that are identical in almost every way. The president is angry at Rick for causing an event that it turns out Morty started, which results in them helping to stop a small, non-threatening creature being turned into a giant monster, with the resolution to the threat being pulled out of thin fucking air after a fat load of exposition. We get 2 episodes that end with a giant incest baby killing people in space. We get Rick falling in love in episode 3 only to be dropped in the end, something we've seen done 10 times better in a previous season. We get an episode about Beth choosing her father's approval over Jerry's feeling, which she realizes was wrong in the end. Now, you might not remember, but we had an entire fucking season dedicated to that exact story. Out of the 10 episodes we get from season 5, only 4 of those episodes don't repeat or recycle already told storylines. That's over half a season. And yet, despite all of this, none of these issues I've talked about bother me as much as my love last issue with this season, and it's the satirization of canon. I conducted a small experiment on the last 3 seasons of Rick and Morty, where I tallied up all the times the show has verbally broken the fourth wall to make fun of story writing as a whole. This includes self-awareness that the show knows it's a show, critiques about the plot voiced by characters, and anything related to the development of a narrative. Here is a table displaying my findings. You can see a drastic increase going from season 3 to season 4. Despite season 4 having an entire episode dedicated to making fun of story writing, there is an increase from season 4 to season 5, with season 4 having 22 and season 5 having a whopping 34. As the seasons have gone on, the writers have started spending so much time making fun of how stories are made, it's starting to pull me out of the stories they are trying to tell. A lot of these jokes are still really funny, but when you are telling the same joke over and over again, it starts to get a little repetitive. But this actually isn't my problem. This table isn't my issue, which leads me into my next point. This graph displays all the time the show has made fun of storytelling as a whole. Out of all of these jokes and bits, how many of them is the show shitting on its own canon? I think this speaks for itself. As the seasons have progressed, not only has the show been more critical when it comes to how stories are written, but the writers have started ridiculing their own story while trying to tell it at the same time. And as someone who's been enjoying Rick and Morty for so long, this season has me very concerned. The ending of season 5 has set the show on a new course, one where characters will have to start holding themselves accountable, and where beats of the story need to be addressed, not by writers taking digs at the story, but by characters engaging with one another. I find it really embarrassing for a writing team to spend so much time dunking on how stories are written, only to watch them feel so unsure of their own that they feel the need to make fun of it as it unfolds. Because that's how it comes across to a lot of people who love Rick and Morty. Watching who we assumed to be the big bad of the show spoil us with intricate details about this ever-expanding story, only to have Rick constantly pull us out of it was just frustrating.
Morty, the idea was to get back to simple adventures. The Citadel runs on canon. The second he reveals he's evil, we're gone. And he does not like serialized drama. Right, no drama. Keep it episodic. Whoa, dead wife? Yes, now everyone can shut up about it.
The season finale still blew my mind, and I love Rick being self-aware, but at the cost of interrupting your own story, it just doesn't feel worth it. Rick and Morty isn't ruined, but what will ruin Rick and Morty is this constant backpedaling of ideas. If season 6 opens with Rick and Morty on Earth starting up a new adventure and just forgetting this finale like the season 5 premiere did, I think I'll be done watching. If season 6 constantly spends its runtime making fun of itself instead of being confident enough to tell the story the writers do want to tell, I'll find a show that does. Understand that I enjoy Rick and Morty as a comedy. I don't want it to take itself too seriously. The satirical takes and methods of parody are hilarious, but if the main material you keep shitting on is your own, that's going to get boring really fast. I made this video because I love Rick and Morty. Season 1 and Season 2 are spectacular. When people said Rick and Morty changed in Season 3, I couldn't tell. I loved Season 4 but could tell the comedy was shifting, and in Season 5 that shift has me concerned. But for now, let's wait and see. And if something that I've said I hate is something you love, leave a comment. You're allowed to like things that I hate. I'm not pretentious, okay? I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong. Just understand that this video does not come from a place of hate for the show, but out of love of it. Rick and Morty isn't ruined, but it has set itself on that path. Shit, I should really change that thumbnail, huh?